Hey everybody, welcome back. So I just got back from SEMA 2024. Had a blast as always. Got to see some friends that I only get to see once or twice a year. I got to see another friend that I haven't seen since 2021. So that was pretty cool. One thing about SEMA is I can never get out of there without spending any money. So this year, I'm usually buying tools. One of the tools that I bought this year is this right here from Build Brothers. This is a stand for my shrinker stretchers. My small shrinker stretchers, also bought from Build Brothers. But I've had these for a while. I've been meaning to build a stand for them, a foot powered one. Just been dragging my butt. Haven't got to it. So I was always interested in this one because it's air powered. It's got an actuator. And every time I put my foot on the pedal, it'll be the same pressure every single time. So consistency. You've heard me talk about it before. When you're using the shrinker stretcher, consistency is key. So this will allow me to have consistent stretches and consistent shrinks on all my parts. But it did not come with a base. So I have to build the base. So that's what this video is about. Last night I figured out my height. So you've seen me use this one. This is my deep shrinker stretcher. The height on it is perfect for me. I really like the height on that. It's like perfect. Set it right here so I can work. It's like right here, right at my gut, like perfect height. I can see right where I'm at. I can see what I'm doing. So I like this height. So I took measurements, measured everything I took measurements from the deep one, put my shrinker stretcher on here, took a measurement from here to here, and then subtracted for the metal I'm using to get my heights or my cuts. So last night I cut out all my metal. Here's all my pieces. Here's my main support. It's going to go like this. And then this is going to go like this. This piece right here goes underneath here and gets bolted down. And then this gets welded. This gets welded to this. And then I got a frame. Now the frame, that thing is about 15 inches wide. So I'm going to go twice that width. I'm going 30 inches long. And then I'm going to go 16 inches wide. So it should have a good base. Not going to be putting a whole lot of, I'm not really kicking on it. I'm just using the foot pedal, and then air pressure is going to operate the jaws. So it should be stable. We're going to use the fixture table to make sure everything's square and right. And when I weld it, it doesn't move. But first things first, I got to get all this metal cleaned up. So I'm not sure if I'm going to paint this or clear coat it. I really like the clear coated look. So I'm going to clean off all the mill scale and get it prepped and ready for welding just in case I decide to clear coat it. But if not, I can always paint it blue like the Build Brothers piece and have it ready to go. So I'm going to use a strip disc to strip off all the mill scale. And then I'm going to go over it with a DA 80 grit and get that nice texture that I like. So I'm going to get this started. Alrighty, I already stripped this one with the strip disc. Now I just did it with the DA and got that texture that I like. So that's what they're all gonna look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that all done, and then we'll start mocking it up on the fixture table. All right, so I have all of my metal cleaned up, got it all cut and cleaned up, ready to go, and I put the base down on the fixture table. That's what I'm gonna show you right now. So this is a Build Pro table, and I use Fireball tool squares and clamps. Now these squares are going to ensure that it is not going to move at all. It's going to make sure everything's square and they're clamped to each other and it can't move. So the way I did it is I put these are clamped, the sides or the front and back are clamped together, so it can't go this way anymore. And then these pieces are clamped in there with the squares, and you can see that it's lifted off the table 1 inch, so I can get down and tack on the inside corner of my fillet. So I'm gonna weld this on all four, and then I'll unclamp it, flip it over, and weld the other side, all four, and the outsides, and then I'll do the fillets last. But I should be able to do the fillets inside, but I'm gonna do them last, so it has less distortion, I guess. But yeah, so that's how I got it all fixtured up and ready to go. Now, when I do this, when I fixture everything down to the table, I try and do it to where I can, keeping in mind how I'm going to weld it up. So I make sure that I got my weld areas open. This one is going to be a little dip. I can't get this weld going down because I did 90-degree cuts. I didn't do 45s. That's just the way I did this one. So, yeah, keep that in mind when you're fixturing stuff down, your weld sequence. I'm going to have to remove some clamps to weld, put them right back on, but it is what it is. All right, I have 3 tacks on each corner, the tops, and then down in the bottom of the fillet. So I'm going to weld up all the top 4, and then I'm going to unclamp it, flip it over, reclamp it, and finish welding it off. All right, I got those 4 welds done. So now I'm going to let it cool off, and then I'll unclamp, flip it over, weld up some more. But I want to let it cool off. All right, I unclamped, let it cool down, unclamped it, flipped it over, put it right back in the same exact spot, and reclamped everything down. Something I forgot in the first one is this center bar, this center piece. So off camera, I did the same exact thing. I set it in on dead center, tacked it in 3 places on both sides, welded it across the top. Now I'm going to weld it up on the bottom and the other 4 along the bottom as well. All right. all the tops and bottoms are welded up. I'm gonna let that cool down and then decide if I'm gonna do the fillets or not. Like it doesn't really need it because there's not a whole lot of weight going on this thing. Like this is not that heavy. Lifting it up with one arm, that's not that heavy. So that's more than strong enough right now. So yes, I don't know if I'm gonna do the fillets or not, but I gotta let this cool down and then get ready to do the next step. Oh. I figure while that's cooling down, I can go ahead and get this piece centered up. Figure out my distance. So get it centered onto this piece. This has 2 bolt holes right here, and it's going to sit on here and bolt up here onto it like that. So I need to get this centered and then get it centered and mark it and drill it. So this is a slide ruler. You loosen this up and this slides back and forth. So I'm going to use this to kind of get my distance on it outside. And then I'll set this on top and make sure it's set on the inside. That's pretty close right there. I think it's a 16th off. So slide this right there. Dude, that's it. All right. That's my dimension right there. I just moved it till it didn't move either way, putting it back on there, and then it doesn't move either side. Now, I can set this on here. Kind of eyeball it inside. Actually, you know what? Let's run a line down the center of this thing. So, this is 3 inches wide. So, put this to 1.5 inches. Line there. Line there. Now, I set this on here and I'll look through the bolt holes and make sure those lines are centered up. Then, take this and center it up lengthwise. There we go. Good enough. Make sure the line is straight. That's where I'm going to pump the holes. All right, you want to see something pretty cool? what makes these tables so awesome and why I like these clamps and why I use so many. Check this out. No distortion, no movement. That is flat. Square, perfectly square. All the way around. It don't get better than that. All right, next step. Now I'm going to find center on this piece, and then I'll find center on my tall bar, mark it, line those up, and then get that clamped in place, and that'll be ready to weld up. So, little trick my brother taught me. Make your thing just a little over the halfway distance. Mark it, flip it again, mark it, and then you only got to find the center of those two pieces, and then that's dead center. Okay, so there's that piece. We'll line these up. It's exactly 1 inch wide. So right here at 1/2 inch, that's my center line. Now I need to mark it on the sides because I got to line the sides up to this. This is going to get marked center, and then I'll mark the sides up on that. There, dead center. Now I will clamp this. I'll probably put 2 squares up here to clamp it in place, and then weld these, and then weld the fillets. This I am going to weld the fillets because this has got the most weight and the most movement. So I'm going to weld the fillets on this. This is going to get welded all the way around. Okay, so I have it clamped up and I already tacked it in place. So the way I did it is I put the 2 squares on there and a vertical one. Had this clamped down, the vertical, clamp down up against here, clamp down, clamp that like that. Then I put the squares up there and clamp them like that, making sure that it's all lined up and all square. Now, I have already tacked both sides, right? Look at that. No gap. This is not attached. No gap. So that's good to go. Now I can take that off. I'll weld up this side. Let it cool or swap it around. Weld up this side. And then I can do the fillets afterwards. Got to get rid of that sharp because if you weld, it'll burn away and the rest that's left will stay there. Check this out. Now that is unclamped. And that is dead vertical, dead straight. Perfect. Now I probably don't even need these clamps anymore, but just that makes me feel better. Now I'm going to take one of the squares away, but I'm going to leave the other one there. But I also need to clamp it there too. Crank my amperage up by 20 amps because I'm doing a fillet weld. It's going to take a little bit more amperage to weld this out. So, got to crank up your amperage just a little bit. I think that'll be enough. Just two 1-inch welds on the ends. Leave the center open. That should be plenty. Now I'll flip it around and do the other side. Now, since there's a weld on that side, I can't get this up to the edge, so I got to use this side. Oh, look at that. It's still square. Look at that. No movement back and forth. Square. It's not rocking at all. All right, that one's done. Now I gotta drill these holes out, put some weld nuts in them, make sure it goes onto the stand, and then that can get welded up. Man, those are some beautiful welds. That's plenty of weld for this. This doesn't have a whole lot of weight, like I said before, and there's not going to be a whole lot of tension on it. It's not, I'm not kicking it hard. I'm just stepping on a pedal and then it's going to actuate. And it doesn't take a lot of pressure to actuate, to move these shrinker stretchers. So me leaving the gap like that, less heat into it, and it's really no reason to keep filling it in. That's why I'm not doing the fillet welds on the base. Like, it's welded good enough. So now I thought I was going to be done welding, but a little while ago I had an epiphany that it's got a foot pedal, so I would like to put something to hold the foot pedal on here so it's not hanging on the ground, sitting on the ground when I'm trying to move it. So now I'm going to bolt it up, put everything in together, and then design some sort of mount to hold the foot pedal right here. And then I'll weld that on. After that, I can paint it. I just went to Home Depot and found some paint that matches really, really well. Hold on one second. So this is some Rust-Oleum deep blue gloss, and like that match is almost identical. So I'm gonna paint the base this color, and it should match up and look pretty good. But all right, let's get this thing bolted up and see what it looks like. Oh, I decided not to put weld nuts in it, because the weld nuts, if I put weld nuts in here, they would sit on top and then I have to weld around and it would be a high spot. Then this thing would have the option of like moving a little bit. Yeah, I would tighten it down super, super tight, but I didn't want to deal with that. So I opted to just drill straight through, and I'm going to bolt it down and put nuts on it. Yeah, that's going to be nice. Ooh. Might be a little higher than I wanted. That'll work. So, yeah, I like that. I think it's going to be killer. Okay, here it is. all mounted up, bolted down, ready to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is put the air hoses into the foot pedal and figure out how I want to loop the hoses when I'm going to store the foot pedal. So yeah, so you got two hoses. You got a blue and a red, or blue and black. That's pretty long. So it says the blue tube goes in the top. Just push it in like that, and the black tube goes in the bottom. And then in here, it says which one goes which. Black over here, blue over here, and then an inlet for an airport. So I went to old trusty Harbor Freight, got me a new air hose. I got one with a swivel, and I'm gonna put this in there. And my thought process is behind that is like just for movement, obviously. But I'm gonna get some tape, some Teflon tape, and put that on there. Some liquid Teflon tape. Alrighty, let's put these tubes in first. This seems like a lot of tube. I don't think I need that much. Like, I feel like I can cut that down by a lot. Because with a big, even with a big panel, how these come in and out? Oh, fairly easy. I'm gonna leave it like this for right now, and then after I start using it and figure out how much I need, then I'll trim these down, because this is a lot of hose. But for right now, it'll work. Now, I went away from the white tape because it always seemed like it was always coming off. So I started using this true blue pipe thread sealant for all my airlines. Seems to be working good. So yeah, I think it's worth it. It lasts longer than the tape. It's a little bit more than the tape, but it's not bad. There we go. It's all put together now. Pretty simple build. Now I just need to figure out how I'm going to store the pedal and the hoses. Tell you what. I'm gonna go get an air hose and we're gonna actuate this. These valves right here are pressure adjustment for allow for air. I gotta read the directions to see how much air pressure is required, because my air compressor is putting out 120 psi. There's nothing in here that says anything about air pressure. Not a damn thing. Oh, max pressure on this actuator is 250 psi, so we should be good. Alright, I'm gonna get the air compressor hose and get a piece of metal, and we're gonna try this out. Alright, the first thing I noticed when I plug the air hose in, it makes a lot of noise. I'm not really a fan of that, but when I did that, this actuator shot straight up like from the thing. Now, you never want to actuate these jaws, shrinker or stretcher, without something in there. It'll damage the jaws if you do that. So I got a scrap piece of metal here. The plans that I was bending, it didn't work out real well, so we're gonna try this. All right, no air pressure going in there. See, it's slowly moving. Oh, I like that. That's awful slow. But it definitely works. It's just really, really slow. I don't really think. Works pretty good, pretty quick. Now that you got the air hose opened up, and then you can flip over, swap over to the stretcher jaws. Just like that, not quick. What you like about this is you can physically watch the metal moving a lot easier and more consistent. Hopefully you can see it in the camera, but I'm watching it move. Now you can watch it move when you're using a foot operated one also, but you're standing on one leg and doing it. This, I'm standing on both legs and just using my foot so I'm not off balance. You know, my leg's not getting tired. When you're doing a lot of kick shrinking, your leg gets tired, your butt muscles get tired. Unless you're doing it consistently, you start to wear out fairly quickly. All right, there you have it. So if you open up the air hoses all the way, probably do more. It's good. It's faster. It's not as fast as just using a regular foot pedal, but you know you can get even consistent shrinking and stretching with this. Is it worth it? This setup with the shrinker stretchers, I believe is $950, close to $1,000. Who knows what it shipped? It seems like a lot of money for what you get, but you could just build when you can just build two stands for this and use a regular foot pedal, which is what I originally was going to do. But then I was at SEMA and seen this in person. I thought it'd be a good idea. I already had the shrinker stretcher. This setup was $550, I think, $500. And I got free shipping because I was at the show. So I figured I'd give it a shot. I'll use it for a while and see how I like it. But eventually, I don't know, we'll see. I might end up just going to a regular foot pedal. I'm using the calibrated leg to do my shrinking and stretching because it seems like that's a lot faster. Okay, so after playing around with this thing for a little bit, I lowered the air pressure down to 90 psi and all my noise went away. It's completely quiet now. So 90 psi is what it should be at or below. I think 90 psi is probably good. So that's what I'm gonna leave it at. Unless I blow a hose off or something, I'm gonna stick to 90 psi.